We have a 2005 Chevrolet Uplander that we're going to go through the steps in order to replace the fuel pump. One of the first things you want to do is bleed the pressure off the system. Always capture any fuel that you drain out of the system into a safe container. Always remove the negative battery cable before beginning any repair. In order to do a proper fuel pump replacement, we need to clean the inside of the tank, and that will require the removal of the tank. Before we can start lowering the tank, we'll need to remove the fuel filler hose and the vent line. At the front of the tank, we'll disconnect the emissions line and the fuel line. Keep in mind there will be some residual fuel that you'll have to capture in a safe container. Before removing the tank straps, always be sure and support the tank safely. The front strap on this particular application, you'll have to slightly move the shield in order to get the strap out. Disconnect the main electrical connector from the chassis and remove the tank from the vehicle. You always want to clean the outside of the tank before removing the module assembly. This will keep from any excess dirt getting into the tank. Now remove the vent line, the emissions line, and the fuel line. Disconnect the electrical connections. Be sure and use a non-ferrous brass punch and turn the locking ring counterclockwise to remove. With the tank ring removed, now we're ready to remove the module from the tank. Be sure and capture any fuel that is in the module assembly into a safe container. Make sure the tank ring is in good condition for reuse. You'll need to remove the fuel line retainer clip to reuse on the new module assembly. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. Now with the inside of the fuel tank thoroughly cleaned, we'll install the new Airtex fuel pump module. We'll put the tank seal into location. You'll note that there's a locating tab on the top of the fuel pump. This will set between two of the retaining clips on the tank. With the fuel pump module in place, now we'll take our non-ferrous brass punch and turn the locking ring clockwise. You want to be sure and fully rotate the locking ring until it locks into position. Reattach the electrical connections. Reattach the fuel line fitting. Reattach the emissions line. You'll have to remove the old retaining clip from the vent line, as a new one is provided with the pump. With the tank fully raised into position, we'll reinstall the tank straps. Be sure when reinstalling the tank straps to get them into their proper location. Reattach the wiring harness to the chassis connector. At the front of the tank, reattach the emissions line and the fuel line. At the rear of the tank, reattach the fuel vent line and filler hose. With the repair complete, we'll reattach the negative battery cable. Cycle the key 2 to 3 times in order to charge the system. We'll start the vehicle and monitor the fuel pressure, making sure it's within vehicle specifications. Now before we remove our pressure gauge, we'll shut the vehicle off and bleed the pressure using our pressure gauge, making sure to capture any fuel into a safe container.